junior doctors are on strike. And it's all got a little bit nasty, I have to say, because they're down tools this morning for 3 days. Now, if you missed the start of the programme, you're not aware of the story, you'll be sitting there thinking, what's it all about? Well, the answer is pay. How much pay they get this? Not 5 or 10 or 15%. No, they want a 35% pay rise. You did hear that correct, 35% in order to get it and to convince the government of their argument, Aaron. They've withdrawn themselves from lots of the emergency care that they would have perhaps in previous strikes have provided cover for. Where do you stand on the whole thing?
Well, I feel like junior doctors in particular have had a very bad deal with regards to public service wages falling over the last 13 years. So, as perhaps your audience has heard or seen, the average junior doctor now is earning in their first year around £14 an hour. Obviously incredibly low. And if you're living in a major city like London, Manchester, renting, very high costs, we're in a situation now where many junior doctors live in conditions that actually would be, frankly, beneath a university student. And it's deeply concerning. So they're asking for 35%. There's not that many of them, so the context there is that it would cost around £2 billion. So that's what's on the table now. Bear in mind.
Casual $2 billion.
Well, we've just...
With a burr? Did you say with a burr?
We've just given the French 500 million, you know, so...
Did you say billion with a burr or
I said with a burr, yeah. So
right,
it is a significant amount of money, but when you think we've just increased defence spending by £5 billion, given the French 500 million, there's clearly money to go around. And, of course, we found out last month, actually, we've got 30 billion more than we realised in tax receipts ahead of the budget. So there is money to play with. I know lots of people want that money, but there is money to play with. And I think, frankly, junior doctors, and I must say nurses, I think should be at the front of the queue when it comes to actually looking after some people.
This, I mean, lots that I can pick up on there, but just a quick question just about your economic viewpoint. So when you talked about the surplus then, so I agree with you, the government have got receipts that they weren't perhaps expecting. See, I would think, actually, the right thing to do with that money is if you've got yourself into a financial conundrum and then you end up with a little bit of extra income, rather than splashing the cash wherever, I would actually think it's more fiscally responsible to sit there and go, fantastic, I don't need to now perhaps borrow so much to get myself out of the mess that I'm in. So I wouldn't be spending that surplus. I'll be keeping hold of it and not borrowing as much. Wouldn't you agree?
To an extent, I think you could do a lot with 30 billion. I would say let's have a temporary time-limited cut to VAT, for instance. But we have a major problem with doctors in this country, and I think we're 10,000 doctors short. We have a big problem with recruitment, and this is particularly interesting and particularly bad because the taxpayer spends hundreds of thousands of pounds, if not millions of pounds, frankly, on a doctor. They enter the profession. Now, of course, after 10 or 15 years in the profession, they earn lots of money. Nobody's saying that consultants don't earn lots of money. But before then, they're junior doctors. They have very tough schedules. They don't earn very much. And they have the incentive to go to the US, Australia or elsewhere. So we're training people and then losing out on them. And it's a big problem, and the government has to have an answer for it.
Again, I want to come back on some of those things, but before I do, Charlotte, your thoughts?
I think walking out straight off the bat for 3 full days, no other striking sector has done this. The nurses started off with 12-hour strikes. So to start off straight off the bat with 3 days, no emergency cover, Michelle, as you said, no cover in maternity wards, all of these wards and areas that junior doctors are absolutely crucial to. I mean, something like half of the doctors in the NHS are junior doctors. So this is a huge impact on the NHS's ability to provide core health services. But let's just for one moment reflect on what they're walking out for. A 35% pay bump, 35%. And how have they got to that figure? They've used a measure called RPI, which is a measure of inflation, which our National Statistics Agency in this country say is discredited and you shouldn't use. So actually, if you look at what the figure is...
But they would push back and say, yeah, but hang on, that's just politicking, because when it suits the government for things like, I don't know, train fare increases, etc., they reckon, the BMA reckons that the government do use that RPI.
The government don't use. So it may be that external bodies use it. The government does not use RPI. The government uses CPI. And if you were to take CPI, yeah, the junior doctors have seen a significant real terms decrease in the value of their salary, but nowhere close to 35%. So I think it is irresponsible to say we want 35% and we're going to walk out for 3 days without providing cover unless you give us 35%.